गिरिवरदारी यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरंजन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रजजनरंजन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जीव मुष्टपाद परमहंस परिव्यक्षर स्तुत सदस्य श्रीमन स्वामी श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापकाचार्य शील प्रभुपाद की जय। जीव मुष्टपाद परमहंस परिव्यक्षर स्तुत सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जीव मुष्टपाद लघु किशोरदास बाबा महाराज की जय। जीव मुष्टपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। जीव मुष्टपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास पाद महाराज की जय। कैसे रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। अमरचर्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिर गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शन भगवान की जय, श्री मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, अमन माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन रत्न गुरुवंद की जय, समावेद भक्तवंद की गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled Lord. It's all glories to the assembled Lord. It's all glories to the assembled Lord. It's all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All goes to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtihi. Reading from welcome you all to the Srimad Bhagavatam class this Tuesday morning. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 70, Text 19. Chakre Hiranyakashipur Dhorpyam Brahma Varena Cha Vashe Sapala Lokam Stren Akuto Mrityur Uddhataha. Chakre Hiranyakashipur Dhorpyam Brahma Varena Cha Vashe Sapala Lokam Stren Akuto Mrityur Uddhataha. Chakre Hiranyakashipur Dhorpyam Brahma Varena Cha Vashe Sapala Lokam Stren Akuto Mrityur Uddhata. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The elder child Hiranyakashipu was unafraid of death from anyone within the three worlds because he received a benediction from Lord Brahma. He was proud and puffed up due to this benediction and was able to bring all the three planetary systems under his control. As will be revealed in later chapters, Hiranyakashipu underwent severe austerity and penance to satisfy Brahma and thus received a benediction of immortality. Actually, it is impossible even for Lord Brahma to give anyone the benediction of becoming immortal. But indirectly, Hiranyakashipu received the benediction that no one within the material world would be able to kill him. In other words, because he originally came from the abode of Vaikuntha, he was not to be killed by anyone within this material world. The Lord decided to appear himself to kill him. One may be very proud of his material advancement in knowledge, but he cannot be immune to the four principles of material existence, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. It was the Lord's plan to teach people that even Hiranyakashipu, who was so powerful and strongly built, could not live more than his destined duration of life. One may become as strong and puffed up as Hiranyakashipu and bring under his control all the three worlds, but there is no possibility of continuing life eternally or keeping the conquered booty forever. So many emperors have ascended to power and they are now lost in oblivion. That is the history of the world. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Tadati Swapadantitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Davatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sakana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Sabdutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Shcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Ancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kapasnubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukham Karo Devacharam Bhaktam Lange, Digrim Kapadam, Deshekram Tirtha Parmandavam, Shri Chaitanya Mishra. Hare Krishna. So this verse mentions as to how Hiranyakashipu was not afraid of death because he got a benediction from Lord Brahma. And he became very proud and puffed up due to this benediction. And with this benediction that he got from Lord Brahma, he brought all the three worlds, that is the upper planetary system, middle and lower planetary systems, under his control. So actually, it is mentioned in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as to how Hiranyakashipu underwent severe austerity and penance to satisfy Lord Brahma. It's not possible even for Brahma to give a benediction. He wanted to become immortal. So Hiranyakashipu performed these austerities. He did not want to be killed by anyone within this material world. Now, as long as one is there in this material world, one is bound to go through the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, what Hiranyakashipu did was, he went to the Mandara mountain and began practicing severe type of austerity. Like he was standing with his toes, with his toes on the ground, keeping his arms upward and looking towards the sky. This is a very extremely difficult position, but he engaged in this austerity. And the way he engaged in this austerity, many demigods and all these inhabitants of the higher planets, middle planets, and the lower planets, they all got afraid because it became too hot for them to live in. So they went scattered here and there. And then the demigods then approached Lord Brahma and told him, this is what is the situation. It's very difficult for us to live here. So upon hearing this from the demigods, Lord Brahma then, accompanied by all the great sages, went to see Hiranyakashipu. And then Brahma sprinkled the water from his kamandalu. He said, what is it that you want? Hiranyakashipu then bowed down, and then he said that, O best of the givers of benediction, please give me benediction that if you decide that I don't meet death from any living entities created by you. Grant me, because he wanted to become immortal, and Brahma himself is not immortal, so Brahma cannot give. So he said, grant me that I don't die within any house. So when first he asked for immortality, Brahma said, I cannot give that because I'm myself bound to the cycle of birth and death. I'm myself going to die. Then Hiranyakashipu thought that he is very, very smart. Then he said, give me a benediction that I don't meet with death due to any living entity created by you. That means he said, grant me that I do not die within any residence or outside any residence. Not during daytime, not during nighttime. Not in the ground, not in the sky. And grant me death not by any living entity created by you or by weapon or any human being or any animal. So this way Hiranyakashipu thought that he is very, very smart, and he asked so many other benedictions in a way so that no human being can kill him. So then he said that give me lordship so that I can control all the living entities and all the preceding deities. Also give me mystic powers like Lagima, Anima, and all those. Now, all these Lagima, Anima can make one very, very powerful, but one cannot become free from death. So Brahma replied, okay, these benedictions for which you have asked are very difficult, but he said that material, in one verse actually, Brahma says, these benedictions for which you have asked are difficult to obtain for most men. Nonetheless, I shall grant you them, although they are generally not available. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that material benedictions one can get, but what happens is that it is very difficult to maintain even if one gets these benedictions. For example, a rich person might get a lot of wealth, but what happens is that he cannot remain wealthy forever. Someone might get a lot of power, but he cannot remain powerful for a very long time. All these things are bound to be lost in this material world. And when we leave, we have to leave this and go. We cannot be with them eternally. So since Brahma already promised, he said that, okay, I'll give you all these benedictions that you have asked for. Now what happened was Hiranyakashipu, because he got these benedictions, he became very, very powerful. And he started creating a lot of havoc in the entire three worlds. He conquered all the planets. He also conquered over, they defeated all the demigods, the living entities in the higher planetary systems and all those things. And being afraid of them, all of them got scattered here and there. And Hiranyakashipu lived in a palace, like a very royal king. And all the demigods also were under his control, excepting Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. Now, when this happened, he became very, very proud and puffed up. This is what is mentioned in this verse. And there is a similar instance. It is mentioned here, when he became puffed up, he started creating it, become a source of terror. There is a similar instance in Ramayana, where Ravana was earlier known as Dasagriva. And as Dasagriva, he went along with his younger brothers to Gokarna, and he also performed severe austerities. He remained without water for 10,000 years. And at the end of each 1,000 years, he would offer one head. He was having 10 heads, that's why he was known as Dasagriva. At the end of every 1,000 years, he would offer one head into the sacrificial fire. And this way he went on, and when he was about to offer the last head that he had, that is when Brahma appeared before him and said that, okay, you can take whatever benediction that you want. He said that I have one fear, that is death. Please grant me the boon of immortality. Brahma said, I cannot give this because I'm also not immortal. So even I have to die. Then Ravana said, grant me immunity from the death of the hands of Nagas, Daityas, Rakshasas, and also the demigods. He said, I don't require immunity from others like human beings and animals, for I consider them to be no more than a straw in the street. That means he thought that human beings are very insignificant for me. So I don't want immortality from them. So Brahma granted this benediction, and he restored all the heads of Ravana. Now, what happens is that if you see, Ravana went along with his other brothers also to perform these austerities. Vibhishana was there. Vibhishana, it is said, he stood on one leg for 5,000 years, and another 5,000 years. He raised both his hands above his head and stood. And he worshipped the sun god. Now, Brahma asked him to take benediction. He said that my only wish is that my mind may be fixed upon the path of virtue, even amidst the greatest of difficulties. So what happened was, then Vibhishana studied the Vedas. Then Brahma went to Kumbhakarna. He lit fires all around him in the, when the heat of summer. Summer when it comes, of course, in Bangalore we don't see that type of a summer. But if you go to other places in the best of the heat, when the temperature is soaring at about 48, 49, 50, which we saw this year, he was like that in the peak of summer. He was put fires around him all around. And in winter, he would submerge himself in cold water. So this way he went on, and then the demigods told that this Kumbhakarna is also creating havoc. So don't ask him to take any benediction. So Brahma then, at that time, it is said, he called Goddess Saraswati, and he told her to sit in his mouth. And when Brahma asked Kumbhakarna to take a benediction, actually from his mouth, the voice came, allow me to sleep for many, many years. And later, after asking for this, he realized, why did I do this mistake? And as soon as all these brothers got benediction, Ravana also started, they become puffed up, excepting Vibhishana, because he studied the Vedas. He was very cool and calm. Now, power actually brings a lot of pride in everyone. And we saw this in the case of Hiranyakashipu. We saw this in the case of Ravana. In the case of Hiranyakashipu, he said that I don't want to die within the residence and outside the residence. So and not to be killed by any human being. So not in the day, not in the night. So what happened? Ultimately, he tried to show that he is very, very smart to all the living entities. But the Lord is the most smartest personality in this entire creation. So the Lord appeared as Narasimhadev. He was not having the form of a human being, and he did not have the form of an animal also. So he came as Narasimhadev. Then the Lord actually caught hold of him and killed him at the doorway, at the entrance of the door. So he was killed neither inside nor outside. He was killed then neither during the daytime nor at the night time. So, and then the Lord then put him on his lap and killed him. If you see in the case of Ravana, he said that I am not consider these human beings as very insignificant. For me, they are not very powerful. But the Lord appeared as Lord Rama in the form of a human being, and then killed him. So one thing is that the Lord is the smartest personality in the entire creation. And what happens is that we, as insignificant living entities, sometimes become puffed up. We think we are very, very powerful. So Queen Kunti actually prays in her prayers in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmaishvarya Shruti Shrebir Yedamana Madapuman Nevar Hati Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. The translation says, my Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Sorry, just one second. So, I'm sorry. So, Queen Kunti says, the translation says, my Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and beautiful bodily beauty cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So that means the Lord cannot be approached unless and until one is totally materially exhausted. If someone is trying to go into the path of power, position, parentage, all higher education, bodily beauty, all these can only bring some sort of a pride in us. And that pride is a very, very big impediment in the process of devotional service. This is what happened in the case of Hiranyakashipu. He was puffed up, but finally the Lord had to show the whole world that becoming pride is not a proper thing. And then the Lord killed him. So the Lord makes his own arrangement to correct those who become puffed up, and especially in the path of devotional service. This is the understanding that we must have from this verse. So we have so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We discussed last week about the how Vamanadev defeated Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was also, though he was born in the family of demons, but he was by virtue, he saw Lord Vamanadev, but his spiritual master Shukracharya forbade him to surrender or give anything. But Shukracharya understood that this was none other than Vamanadev. But Bali Maharaj, being virtuous, he rejected the request of Shukracharya. But then what happened was Bali Maharaj was deprived of everything, but ultimately he became a great devotee of the Lord. So the point is that if one is trying to practice devotional service and at the same time trying to become puffed up due to this thing, they become an impediment in that path. There is a similar example in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where there was a great scholar. Then he was calling himself as Digvijay Pandit. Now, he actually was a great scholar, and he could compile verses on any subject matter in no time. This happened during the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was with him one day, he asked him to recite the glories of Ganges. So in no time, he was known as Digvijay because what he used to do was, he used to go travel all around in a very opulent way, having thousands of elephants, horses, and all those things. And then he would call anybody for a dialogue, and then he would defeat them. But then what happened was, one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew this, and he called this person. He said, I've heard that you are a very great scholar, so let me hear the glories of Ganges from you. So this Keshav Kashmiri, or who was known as Digvijay, he started reciting verses on because he had received a benediction from Goddess Saraswati. So he recited the verse of glorifying Ganges river in the form of so many verses. And then after he finished this recitation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "Oh, can you clarify these doubts that I have on this verse so and so, so and so, so and so?" Actually, Digvijay did not, at that time, could not clarify. He could not understand. The reason is that when this incident happened, Goddess Saraswati left from his mouth. What would happen is he had also the benediction from Goddess Saraswati. So he misused it and tried to defeat everybody. And what happened was, when now Goddess Saraswati is also an expansion of the Goddess of Fortune, and she left at that time when this particular incident happened. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "What is this? Can you clarify this regarding the glories of Ganges that you have asked for?" He could not answer. He felt himself that very, very embarrassed. And then that day, he prayed to Goddess Saraswati as to, "Why did you do this to me? You left." And she said, "You are trying to make me argue with my own husband, who is none other than the Supreme Lord Vishnu himself. And how can I do that?" So she said that you surrender everything today. That is the way, best thing for you. So the next day morning, this Digvijay actually came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, "I'm very, very sorry. And I'm a fool. I'm then asked for instruction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, "Give up everything, all the opulence that you have, and then everything will be all right." Immediately, he gave up all the elephants, horses, and all these things. And finally, he realized, yes, this is not what I should have done, or I should not have got this. So this is what happens, that when one gets even a little bit of knowledge, if we find anybody as a great scholar, somebody who has passed out a double postgraduate or triple postgraduate, which people have many times, we see people have, and they become very, very proud of their knowledge. Similarly, somebody might be having a lot of wealth. Such a person, humility does not come at all. Whereas the most important thing, that aspect in the performance of devotion, to progress in devotion service, is humility. So both of these don't go together, which is what when Kunti also says, that if one is after material prosperity, it is not possible for them to progress in devotion service. Now, the same thing happened. Ravana, he became puffed up and he had to be killed. Kumbhakarna asked for a benediction to be sleeping, and he slept for a very, very long time. But one thing was that in the case of Vibhishana, if we see, he was very, very virtuous. And he asked for a benediction that he may be always situated in the path of virtue, in the most difficult circumstances. So what happened was that at the right time, he changed sides and he joined the sides of Lord Rama. So what happened was that he became a great devotee of the Lord. Now the Lord does not actually bother what you have, because ultimately he is the owner of the entire creation. He is the proprietor. And what is it that the Lord does not have? Lord does not bother if we have something, some opulence, which is very insignificant for him. If you see in the case of Mahabharata also, the Lord did not have any value for Duryodhana. But at the same time, Vidura was born in a low family. He did not have a high parentage, but the Lord considered him to be a very great devotee of the Lord. So this is what happens. When one gets puffed up, then the Lord makes arrangement to take away all these types of opulences from the devotee, because they are not right for him to progress. There is a quote in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto itself, the 26th chapter. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotion service, one should contemplate that super soul as present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it. That means one must practice devotional service with devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge. So when we practice devotional service, then automatically detachment also comes, then pride also goes. So Krishna, there are many examples like that where Krishna does what he feels is right for the devotee. One example is about Narad Muni. Narad Muni was the son of a maidservant, and he was a very, very small boy, just a 5-year-old boy. And she was serving the Bhakti Vedantas with a lot of care and devotion. The Bhakti Vedantas moved forward, and he was with his mother, completely dependent on his mother. Imagine a small child always under the custody of the mother, and she gets bitten by a snake, and this boy is left alone. But what happened was he started wandering here and there with no shelter. And imagine a small boy who doesn't have anyone. So the Lord took away his mother, who was the only one, and he started roaming around. And that is when he realized that service that he had done to the devotees of the Lord. Finally, what happened was he became a great devotee, and the next birth he became Narad Muni. So actually Krishna put that boy into difficulty, but what happened was he became a great devotee in the next birth. Like this, so many examples are there. Parikshit Maharaj, he was a very, very great king, was emperor of the whole world, and he had to be bitten by a snake. But finally what happened was he became an example for the whole world because he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. The Pandavas were put into difficulty. So devotees are put into difficulty quite often, many times, to teach an example to other common conditioned souls like us. Very many times that we have to take shelter of none other than the Supreme Lord Krishna. And he is the only one who can protect us. So these are all lessons that we can learn from the examples of great devotees in Ramayana, Mahabharata, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So many examples are there. So Krishna does what is right for a devotee. We might, from the material point of view, think why I have been put into so much of difficulty and why I have to go through this. Even I am performing devotional service to Krishna. Why still, after performing devotional service, why should I go through? That is why it is said that this Krishna consciousness is like a hospital. If you go to a hospital, you will not find cured people. I mean, once they are cured, they are discharged. So, but in the hospital, you will find those who have got some disease and they're getting treated. So this Krishna conscious movement is like that Krishna conscious hospital where we are all getting treated. We cannot say that I have got a disease today and I have to be treated today. So, no, any disease that comes, it takes its own time to get cured. For example, if somebody might be affected by malaria, he cannot expect that he should be cured the same day. It will take 10 days or 12 days or 15 days. Somebody might be having some other disease. Somebody might have even a cancer. But cancer is very, very painful. We see people suffering through cancer. Many times even devotees suffer. So, but what happens is that that painful condition is something that devotee takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. That is how the Lord makes everyone remember. Yes, I have to remember Krishna at the time of death. Bharat Maharaj was thinking of a deer, and finally he had to take the body of a deer. So we don't want to take birth as a deer or a dog or any animal or even of any living being. We want to think of the Lord at the time of leaving our body. That is how we can go back to the spiritual world. If we think of Krishna, Krishna takes us back. That is the reason why we are doing chanting, why we are hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, because we want to fix our mind in such a way that we always think of the Lord. When we practice and when we are fixed in this process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, then what happens is that at the time of death, Krishna will make an arrangement for us to be associated with devotees, or at the time here remember the name of the Lord, because if we have chanted perfectly, definitely we'll remember the name of the Lord. If you have not chanted, if you have multiple desires, then all those desires will come to us at the time of leaving our body. And Krishna will fulfill that desire also. So, for example, if we think at the time of leaving the body, oh, I have had so much of difficulty, I must be a rich person in the next life. Krishna will do that in the next life. He might make one a president or a prime minister or a big businessman. But what will happen is we will have to struggle, because that also will, whatever opulence we have, it is not going to live with us. Only problem that opulence can create is create this pride and make one puffed up. So Krishna, when one practices devotional service very sincerely, Krishna knows how to take it away at the right time. From the example of Narad Muni, we can understand that. From the case of Parikshit Maharaj, we can understand. So the conclusion is that one should not run after material prosperities. What to talk about us? Many great emperors or many great empires have come up and they have all fallen. For example, once upon a time it is said that the Roman Empire was ruling the world, then the British Empire. So forth, so many empires have come and gone, but nothing remains permanent in this material world. So this is what I have for today's class. I thought I will discuss a little bit about two great personalities. One is Kolvecha Sridhar, whose disappearance day is today, and the other one is Mukunda Datta, whose disappearance day is also today. So glorifying, speaking something about these great personalities is like glorifying them. It is beneficial for us to hear something about them. Now this Kolvecha Sridhar was a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was actually staying in a place called Antardvipa, which is a central island of the 9 islands in Navadvip. And he was from a very, very poor background. And his only means of sustenance was actually selling banana leaves, banana flower, banana stem. And whatever he would get from that income, it's it's not a very great profession. You make very small amount of money, and from whatever little bit of he was earning, he used to give in charity for Ganges, used in the service of Ganges. So Chaitanya, he was a great devotee of the Lord, and one day the Lord asked him, why you are so poor? He said, what is the difference between me and another person who is very rich when he is also searching for bread here and there? So there is no difference. Then the Lord actually admired him. You look very, very poor externally, but you are a great devotee of the Lord. That is the greatest wealth you have. So Golvecha, a devotee never thinks he is puffed up. He always thinks he is very, very humble servant of the Lord. And what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do was, he used to go and bargain. For example, if he says 1 rupee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will say 50 paisa. Whatever price he says, Mahaprabhu would pay only half the price of that. So this way, then he would say, no, I can't give it for this much. Many times people go to the shop for bargaining. So like that, Mahaprabhu would bargain. He would be very tough bargainer. And this Kolvecha Sridhar would say, no, I can't give. It's difficult. But Mahaprabhu would take it forcibly. But Mahaprabhu would look so beautiful and attractive to Kolvecha Sridhar. Kolvecha Sridhar used to think, okay, let him take it and go. So he realized that he was not a normal personality, he was a divine personality. So one day Mahaprabhu was performing great Sankirtan in Siva's Angan. And that day he asked for this Kolvecha Sridhar also, that he be brought there. And Mahaprabhu started the Kirtan. And that is the time when Mahaprabhu revealed his true identity. He showed all his incarnations in that particular pastime. And when Kolvecha Sridhar saw this, he realized that this personality is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, who was playing with me. Mahaprabhu told him that today I want to give you some benediction. See how benediction in today's sloka, Hiranyakashipu asked for some material benediction, and Ravana also asked for a different benediction. And here Mahaprabhu actually asked Kolvecha Shiva, please take some benediction from me. So can you imagine what Kolvecha Sridhar said? He said, there is no necessity for anything from me. Yeah. This particular pastime is called Mahaprabhu's Mahaprakash Leela, in which he displayed all his incarnations. Just 1 second. I think I have lost it. It's okay. So Kolvecha Sridhar said, let that person who used to always argue or fight with me be my Lord birth after birth. And let that person who used to take away by force the banana leaves or banana stem or banana flower be my Lord birth after birth. This is what Kolvecha Sridhar wanted, and the Lord said yes. So, yeah, here I got it. He said, if you must give me something, then I ask for this. May that Brahmin who used to pinch my banana leaves and bark be my Lord lifetime after lifetime. May that Brahmin who used to argue with me be my master, and I serve his lotus feet. Now, imagine who will ask this particular benediction, particularly if he is in a very poor background. But this is what Kolvecha Sridhar asked. And then what happened was, before Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he went to the house of Kolvecha Sridhar. Now, Kolvecha Sridhar was staying in a in a hut, in a thatched hut. You know, what can be the condition of a hut? That is where this Kolvecha Sridhar used to stay. And when he went inside, Mahaprabhu saw a rusted iron pot in which there was some water. And Mahaprabhu took that water and drank that water. And Kolvecha Sridhar actually tried to stop the Lord from drinking water from there. And he expressed Mahaprabhu expressed a lot of joy and ecstasy after drinking that water. But Kolvecha Sridhar got upset. He said, why are you drinking that water? Mahaprabhu said that this is the best water that I have taken ever. So Mahaprabhu actually gave that benediction to Kolvecha Sridhar by taking even that water from Kolvecha Sridhar's water pot, which was rusted. And this the day before actually Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Mahaprabhu actually picked up a bottle gourd, we say lauki, and he gave it to his mother Sachimata and asked him to prepare nice preparation of that, and the next day he took sannyas. And this is what Kolvecha Sridhar actually realized later, that Mahaprabhu took this by force from him and got it prepared before he took sannyas. This way, the Lord would like to associate with his devotees who are not puffed up, who are not proud. The other example that is there is Mukunda Datta, whose disappearance day also is today. So a little bit we'll understand from his pastime also. Now this Mukunda Datta was the son of a great associate of the Lord, whose name was I think Vasudev Datta. So he used to be Mahaprabhu's classmate, and they both used to study together. And Mukunda had a very nice voice of singing. But what happened was, his singing would be very pleasing to everyone. And one day, Mahaprabhu used to actually perform Sankirtan in the Srinivas Pandita's house every night. And what others would think is that outsiders, I mean the karmis, or even many times those who are born in the Brahmana family but don't understand, they used to think why they are being stopped from entering into the Kirtan. But Mahaprabhu would not give permission for everyone. So this Mukunda Datta, somehow he had some association with Mayavada philosophers, people who believe in Mayavada philosophy. So Mahaprabhu actually, what had happened was, this Mukunda would glorify the devotees amongst the devotees. He would then debate, also associate with karmis, non-devotees, and with Mayavadis, he would discuss impersonalism. So when Mahaprabhu was performing this Sankirtan pastime in Shiva's house, he blessed everybody, but he did not give blessing to this Mukunda Datta because he was practicing karma, jnana, and everything. So Mukunda Datta then that day chose to leave his body, commit suicide, because he felt that he has committed some offense on Bhakti Devi. So he asked Mahaprabhu, he told that better to leave this body by committing suicide, whether he would get mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at any time in future. Mahaprabhu said, you will receive my mercy, but after passing 1 million births. That means Mukunda Datta can get mercy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after 1 million births. But then Mukunda Datta got ecstasy after hearing this. He said, only 1 million births, only 1 million births. That means even after 1 million births, he would get association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he became very, very happy and he started dancing. But Mahaprabhu, seeing Mukunda Datta's pitiable condition, he awarded him devotion and determination. Mahaprabhu said, by your faith and conviction in my words, all your offenses have been immediately destroyed. So Mahaprabhu, in fact, wiped off all the offenses that Mukunda Datta had committed. And it is said that this Mukunda Datta was also an associate in Krishna's Leela, and he was Madhukanta, a person with a sweet singing voice. So these are two great personalities. I thought I will glorify them also by speaking a bit about them. With this, I conclude the class for the day. I can take questions or comments for the next few minutes on the subject today, if anyone has. Any questions, any comments from anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Oh, in the class, as you were saying that regarding Kumbhakarna, Mother Saraswati had started, and Mother Saraswati is not Kumbhakarna. I feel that Keshav Kashmiri.
Yes.
That Mother Saraswati was saying that he is my husband. How can Saraswati Mother can be husband of Vishnu? Mother?
Vishnu is everybody. We are all his wife.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
All. He's the only husband for all the living entities, not only Saraswati, but all the living entities. That is why it is said that we are all Prakriti and he's Purusha. He's the only enjoyer. We should not relate everything from our material perspective. Krishna is the only husband for each and every living entity. We may be a husband having a wife, but ultimately Krishna is the husband for everybody because he's the supreme enjoyer and we are all meant for his enjoyment. That is a true understanding.
Yeah, very rightly said, Prabhu. And besides, Prabhu, like as I said in the class, humility is the source, like for the devotional service. That is the most important.
Yes.
So how should one maintain the humility, Prabhu?
One should always see Mahaprabhu taught a verse, Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitama jagadisha amaya. That means one should not run after Nadanam na janam na sundarim. Nadanam, we should not run after wealth. Na janam, we should not try to aspire followers. Na sundarim, not run after beautiful women. So the point is that if one has got these desires, one will not be able to chant properly. So we must chant sincerely, focusing on the holy name of the Lord. That will help us progress. And what is more important is that we must try to associate with devotees of the Lord and try to serve the Vaishnavas, serve the devotees of the Lord. When we develop that serving attitude, then that humility comes automatically in us. Yes, service is my constitutional position. We are all servants. constitutionally designed to perform devotional service. Service means we serve, whoever it is. We serve, either we have to serve Krishna or we have to serve Maya. If we want to serve Maya, Krishna will make arrangement for that. And if we want to serve Krishna, he will make arrangement for that. So we cannot serve Krishna directly. So we can start developing a taste for serving Krishna through the association of devotees. And we have to serve the Vaishnavas. When we serve the Vaishnavas, then what happens is we develop an attitude for serving Krishna. So the first stage is serving the devotees of the Lord. With that, we bring a lot of humility in us automatically. And from these examples that we have seen today, we should understand that we should not run after material prosperity. Material prosperity will come and go. But the wealthiest person is one who has got devotion to Krishna, which is what Mahaprabhu declared in the case of Purvecha Sridhar. He said that you are the richest person in the entire creation because you have got the wealth of devotion service. So if you have devotion service, you have everything. And if you don't have devotion service, you are the poorest person in this creation. Did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Very rightly said. Thank you, Prabhu. And regarding that Mukunda, as you were saying, Prabhu, I lost my net in between for a few seconds. Okay. He was chastised by Chaitanya Prabhu for what reason? Like he was... Like,
because he was associating with devotees also, and he was associating also with Mayavada philosophers. So with Mayavada philosophers, he would say yes, yes, yes. And with devotees, he would say yes, yes, yes. But what happened was, he had some association with Mahaprabhu also. So Mahaprabhu performed that pastime to show, yes, an association with a Lord or his devotees is definitely beneficial. So Mahaprabhu said, okay, I will give you bhakti after 1 million births. But Mukunda Datta had that belief, yes, after 1 million births also, if I get devotion service, it's a very big thing. So that was what was beneficial to Mukunda Datta. So even if you have some devotion service, the Lord can make arrangements for you to become free of the anarthas. It is faith which is very important for us. Faith in the devotion service to the Lord.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, one more question I have got, but it's not of today's related class, but it's related to Hiranyakashipu itself. So okay. Can I ask Prabhu, like,
yes. Anybody else has got any questions on this?
Yeah.
Anybody, before I go to your question? Okay, tell me, Prabhu.
Prabhu, like one doubt is there for me from a very long time, that as Hiranyakashipu went to penance in the forest.
Yes.
So after he went to penance, Prahlad Maharaj had born. So how do we understand this, Prabhu? Like he would have had penance for many years, and when he came back, Prahlad Maharaj was a small baby, small child. Yes. So how do we correlate this? Like, please,
can you clearly explain the question to me?
Yeah, the Hiranyakashipu had gone to forest for penance, na Prabhu. Like they went to forest to do the penance for many years, and in the meantime, Prahlad Maharaj was born. Like, and when Hiranyakashipu came back, Prahlad Maharaj was a small boy only, like small baby. So how do we understand this when he had did penance for so many years, and when he came back, it was just a small baby? How do we correlate this? That's what little confusion was there.
To go through that, can I answer this question later on personally on the phone?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'll answer this question to you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I'll call you up, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhu. Anybody else? If not, then can I take the class as concluded?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Absolutely, Dandavat Pranam.
Any questions?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'll answer you. I'll call you and answer you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.